my name is Harold. This is Tech on Tech, and today I'm going to show you how to install Windows 11, the Extended Edition. So let's go ahead and get right to it. Alright, here we will need a computer to get started on this, because we'll need a computer to set up the USB thumb drive that we're going to use to install this. So let's start by getting a thumb drive together. Fact, here you'll notice I already have a thumb drive plugged in on a computer I'm borrowing from another project. Ignore the mess, but I've got a thumb drive already plugged into it and ready to go. So let's switch back over here. That's this thumb drive right here. It just kind of appeared when I plugged it in, so that made it pretty easy to get to. Now, we're going to destroy everything that's on it, so we're not going to worry about that there. But let's start by going into Chrome and let's get some installation, or let's get the USB. Well, we'll need installation media, and then we're going to need to install it on the USB drive. So let's go ahead and get down to that. First thing we're going to do is do a search for Windows 11. Well, yeah, Windows 11 download. Should give us the Microsoft option here, so we'll go ahead and click on that. I will also additionally include a link below in the description. You can totally use that. But we'll go ahead and just, well, yeah, we'll go ahead and just run this here. This will be the same link in there, so it'll be totally fine. All right, you can do the installation assistant, which has everything kind of combined in one package, so it will download it and install it on the thumb drive. I'm going to download that and show that to you. That's not what we're going to do today because we've got something that can do a lot better. But this is the normal, everyday, average way to download it and then load it onto a thumb drive. And I'll show that to you real quick. But before we do that, for what we're going to do, we actually want to go ahead and go down here to the ISO. We're going to click on that here, and we're going to click download. In fact, I'll go ahead and show you the download starting, but then I'm going to cancel it because I already have a copy of it. And it would, here we go, we'll go ahead and select a product language, English, and then confirm. Give that a second. I just want to make sure it starts downloading so you can see the download. So 64-bit download, Windows 11 English, perfect, and there goes the download. Now, as I said, we already have one, so I'm not going to run that there. The download will normally, unless this has been changed, go into your downloads folder under your regular name. If you don't have that, you can just click on this here on the bottom, and it'll bring up a, here, I'll show you exactly what it'll bring up. It'll bring up this right here, in which case you can just double click on downloads and it'll appear right here. In fact, it'll be this, but it'll appear right here in this window. So that's where you'll find that. In the case of using Microsoft's program, it's not going to let me run it, but oh well, that's okay. In this particular program, what it'll do is you'll load it. It will ask if you want to download the ISO, which is basically the same thing as doing this, or it will ask if you want to just download and set it up on a thumb drive. So you will click that, and then you'll have the thumb drive in there. It will download it and take a while. Oh, it will, sorry, first step, it will ask you to select the drive letter. In this case, it would have been D, and then the next step, after you click off on selecting the drive letter, it will show you a progress screen where it downloads it and then loads it to the drive. That's one way to do it. I'm going to do it the other because there's a better way of doing this. So while you've got the ISO downloading there, we're going to go to a website called rufus.ie, and we're going to program or download a program called Rufus. Give me a second. Let me make sure I've got this right. This link will also be in the description. All right, we're going to go down here and we're going to download Rufus 3.20. I'm going to skip this ad, and then we're going to go ahead and run this. Let's see, click on that again. Just make sure it's running. All right, yes, we do want to run it. And whether you're on, I clicked yes on the first one, no on the second one because I accidentally opened it twice. So you'll click yes on it. So. Alright, do you want to allow Rufus to check for updates? Yes, that will be totally okay. This is the latest version, so it won't need to do it. So we'll leave it at that. The device, so what we're going to do is it needs to know first what USB device are we going to use, or what USB drive. When you plug it in, it should pop up. In fact, I'll show you this again from here. You'll click on this, you'll go to File Explorer, and then over here on the left, you'll see a drive pop up. It's a little bit different in every version. Basically, you just want to be able to go in here, point it to the drive letter that the USB drive is. In this case, it's D:. In Windows 11, it'll appear on the left here, or it'll appear in here in this PC. In other versions of it, you'll basically just be able to click on this PC and see it also. So we'll leave that. We know it's D. It's going to have us select the ISO image. In your case, you're going to go to Downloads, and you're going to select it. In my case, because I have it over here on the desktop, I'm going to click on that. So we'll say Windows 11 22H2 for the version that I have downloaded. I'm going to double click on it, and that's perfect. We're going to leave most of all of this exactly the same. So you don't really have to worry about any of this. You can leave that the same. You can leave this the same. You pretty much leave everything the same in here. Except, once we press start, this is going to show us the reason why I chose Rufus to do this. And that is because we can do a couple of things on here. Number one, we can remove the requirement for Windows 11. Requirements, plural. In this case, I'm installing on a computer that doesn't normally support it, so I'm actually going to check the box for 4 gigabytes of RAM, Secure Boot, and TPM 2.0. This actually does have 4 gigs of RAM, but I don't have Secure Boot TPM. And Secure Boot is a method to make sure that if you move the hard drive from one computer to another, you can't access it. And TPM is, well, we'll just call that a security module for now. So in this case, if you don't need these, then you can just skip past this and click OK. I'm installing on an unsupported system, so I'm going to check this. Now there's some other really neat stuff here, like we can disable data collection and skip privacy questions, which I'm going to leave all of this off because I want you to see the vanilla installation of this. In fact, I've got a Microsoft. We will need a Microsoft account to log into to set this up, because it does have a requirement for it. We can remove it and just have a local account, but I'm going to enter in an online Outlook.com email address. And you should know you either need a Hotmail or an Outlook address, or you need to go in here and you need to disable this so it can create a local account. So if you're not sure, just leave the rest of it, or just leave all of these off. If you know it's an unsupported computer, check this. Same thing, I have a Microsoft account or just a Microsoft email account we're going to use to log in, so I'm not going to check this. I want to show you all the questions and stuff like that formally, so we'll just keep the rest of this vanilla. Same thing, set a local account and set regional options, the same as what I have here. I'm just going to select this one, click OK, and then same thing, it's going to destroy all the data on the device. Let's click OK. Let's take a second while it's doing that. And let me just kind of tell you that you should additionally, before going in and doing this, have a backup of the stuff that's on the computer you're going to do this to, because we're going to go in and we're going to kind of just delete, destroy everything that's on there. In this case, I'm actually going to use this computer to do the install, so I'm setting it up on this computer. I'm going to restart and then, well, reinstall it on this computer. Otherwise, you start on another computer and do this, and then just move the thumb drive over to the other computer. So we're doing it on this computer. We're going to install it on this computer. We're going to leave that thumb drive plugged into it, and then I'm going to show you how to boot to that thumb drive, which we'll do after we do the reset. This is actually going to take a couple of minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and pause my side for just a second, and we'll be back with you in a moment there. Alright, this is actually still in process, but it occurs to me that I actually want to show this to you now while this is doing it. And that is, we're going to need to boot to the USB after it restarts. And for that, most computers have a key that after we turn the computer on, we can start tapping it over and over and over again, and it'll bring up a menu that we can use to select to boot from the USB drive. Now, this is a Dell computer. So what we're going to do is we're going to type Dell boot menu key, and we'll just look up their perfectly normal average key, which is F2 or F12 to get into the boot menu. You know, actually, I don't think this is a Dell. No, this is an HP. So for Dell, it's going to be F2 or F12. For HP, although I have this memorized, I want to pull it up anyway here. For HP, Escape will bring up a menu. That's actually to get into the BIOS and the other stuff. You don't have to do that on an HP. You can just start tapping F9 when you turn on the computer. And I've got it set up so I'll be able to show you the menu as it comes up. Toshiba is, in fact, let me pull my notes on that. Toshiba is F12. Dell is also, some Dells are F9, some seem to be F12, but generally speaking, it's almost all of them are like Escape or F9 or F12, except for certain like custom motherboards, like kind of like home built computers and stuff like that. For those, you have to go into the BIOS and tell it manually to boot from it. I won't have the time. I won't be able to do it here. But if you do have trouble with that, just pull up a YouTube video and just do a quick type in for changing your boot menu on maybe whatever motherboard you have, and you should get to what you're looking for. But for everybody else, it's either going to be F9, F12, or F2. And yeah, you type in your computer here, and you just type in your computer followed by boot menu key, and you can generally get the boot menu key to pop up right here. In this case, I know it's F9, and that is correct. So I'm going to completely power off the computer, and then when I turn it on, start tapping F9 over and over again to get that boot menu. The other thing that's really helpful to know is the vendor who made your USB thumb drive, because that's something that will pop up and we're probably going to know. Actually, as long as we have it in Windows, let me show you how to find that information real quick. Let me go to Properties. We're going to go down here to Device Manager. We're going to go down here to Disk Drive, and then here we go. Here in Device Manager, this is a vendor code, product code, USB device. This is the USB thumb drive. That is D:, and we're going to want to know that because it's going to ask us what do we want to boot into. And because there are multiple options, we want to make sure we know what the USB drive is named. Alright, same thing. I'm going to go ahead and pause it on my side for a second and follow up as soon as this is done. And then we'll reboot the computer and get the process going. Alright, it is at 99 of the copying job. Should be just about done. It's applying the customizations. They're just going to let that finish itself up, so we should be done here in about 1 minute. Quick note while we're about to do this, and something I came across today that kind of makes sense. When you plug in and do this, make sure the USB drive is plugged into either a port that looks blue instead of black, or one that says SS or super speed below or above it. You want to make sure that it's plugged into the USB 3.0 port instead of the 2.0 port. It makes this process go much faster because it can write to the USB faster and it can install it faster. So always plug your USB drive into the fastest port, and additionally use the fastest USB drive if you can. Alright, so that is about 99% complete. We should be seconds away. I'll wait a few more seconds for it to apply. Alright, looks like it's completed. Let's go ahead and let's close that, and then let's start the process of the install. Alright, we'll close that. The drive is ready. Let's go ahead and shut down the computer, which I will do now. Now, at this point, if you were setting it up on one computer and putting it in another computer, you would take this thumb drive right here out, and you would put it in that other computer. In this particular case, we're going to install it on this computer. So I'm actually going to put this back into the super speed or USB 3.0 port. I'm going to go ahead and power the computer back on here, and I'm going to immediately start tapping F9 on the keyboard. Now, I didn't get a chance to see it, so let's go ahead and let's restart it one more time. As it powers on, I'm going to start tapping F9 on the keyboard over and over again. On this device, it brought up the boot menu, no problem. This is generally what you want to see, something like this or similar to this. I'm going to arrow down. You can't use a mouse on this, so you're going to have to use the keyboard. You're going to use the up and down arrow keys on the keyboard. You're going to go down arrow down to your USB drive. Remember earlier when we were selecting, or we were looking at the drive to find out who the manufacturer was, in this case Vendor Co. We know that this right here, where that arrow is the Vendor Co. USB drive. So we're going to set the little arrow next to it, and we're going to hit enter to boot from the USB drive. We're going to give this a second. It will take just a moment for this to load. So we're going to give this a minute. Yep, probably actually closer to 30 seconds. When it's ready, it will pop up with a screen. So let's just give it a second. All right. Mouse has appeared. We have our language selection, US. We can leave these all the same. We're going to click next. We're going to left click on install. We'll give this a second to load up. Now at this point, I should probably tell you, if you have multiple drives plugged in and you don't want to delete them, you probably won't delete them if you're familiar with how to do this. But you should probably not have any other drives installed to prevent you from making any mistakes if you have like another hard drive or something in there. In this particular case, it's time to enter in your Windows key. If you have a computer, well, okay, if you've done the ISO and you've done everything I've done to this point, you can actually just go ahead and put I don't have a product key. If you already had Windows 11 on this computer, it will authenticate it the second it goes online. So we can just click I don't have a product key for now, and when it goes online, it'll remember your computer, it'll authenticate it, and it'll activate, because activation is something you have to do on every Windows product. It will do it automatically if it was already on that computer. If it wasn't on that computer, you need to purchase Windows and enter in the product key here. In my case, I'm going to click I don't have a product key and just skip this for now. Alright, in this case, you're going to select your version of Windows. Probably should have checked that before we restarted, but I can tell you right now it was Windows 11 Pro. So I'm going to go ahead and select Windows 11 Pro. And if you're not sure, I would probably just go with Home Edition. That's what most computers tend to be. I believe if you select Pro and you have Home Edition and you enter the key for it, it'll just cut off the features. So aim high and go Pro if you're not sure, and it should self-correct. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a custom install. If you already had like an operating system on there, like Windows 10, and you don't want to delete everything that's on there, but just upgrade it to 11, you can do the upgrade. But what I'm going to do is the custom install, and then I'm going to start systematically deleting all these partitions. Partition is like folders on the drive where it stores information. Kind of like files and folders, but a little higher up in the hierarchy. So what I'm going to do is we want a completely clean install, so nothing on the drive. So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight each of these partitions and we're going to delete it. And what that's going to do is turn it into unallocated space. So we can't delete unallocated space, but we want all of these partitions to be deleted, and the only thing we want left on the drive is unallocated space. Note that doing this will delete everything on the drive, so just make sure you have a backup first. Alright, once I only have unallocated space, sometimes you may get something weird where there's something else that you just can't delete, something besides unallocated space. In cases like that, they're weird partitions that sometimes just stick around. I've been able to install Windows irregardless and never had any problems with it, just as long as the majority of the space is unallocated so that we can use that to install Windows on. So I'm going to go ahead and left click so it's highlighted, and I'm going to click next. and it's going to begin the installation. It's basically going to move down this list, and after it says finishing up, it's going to go through a restart on the computer. Same thing, I'm going to go ahead and pause parts of this and pop in here and there so you can see what it's doing, but it's just going to kind of work down these items, copying Windows files, getting files ready for installation, then installing features, installing updates, and finishing up. So I'll go ahead and I'll jump back and forth on this, and we'll just kind of let this complete. All right. Those two boxes are done. It's in the process of installing updates as we speak. So far, so good. Same thing, when it gets to finishing up, it's going to pop up with a box, and that box is going to have like a thing coming across. It's going to want to restart the computer. Perfect. All right, let's go ahead and restart now. Now, if you went into the BIOS and you changed the boot order, you're going to want to remove the thumb drive. We told it to load from the thumb drive by using the boot menu, so we don't have to do anything. So it's just going to load right to the regular hard drive now. So it is now officially loading Windows 11 on the hard drive for the first time. So let's give it just a second there to do that. In fact, I've got a little light on the thumb drive, and it's kind of just going crazy over there, but looking good. Now, the next part of this is the setup. I wanted a chance to kind of walk you guys through this. If you checked all those boxes back while we were setting up the thumb drive, a lot of this you don't have to worry about. You won't even see. But this will be about as vanilla as you can get, so you should see everything. I'm going to go ahead and kind of walk you through it. Kind of show you what settings I prefer. And then we'll have to we'll have to connect it to either wireless, or we'll have to connect it to Ethernet. Basically, Windows 11 needs a, normally, unless we did that thing with Rufus and disabled it, needs an internet connection, and you need to enter in a Outlook or Hotmail email address, which is already ready and standing by. So we're waiting on that right now. We're waiting on this to, waiting on this to get to that point, and then we'll enter everything in and get to the desktop. All right, I should also add that at this point, we are totally done with the USB thumb drive, so you can remove it. All right, looks like it just changed screens, so we should have the desktop coming up here pretty quick with the startup. Oh, correction, it looks like it's going through a reboot process. Okay, no problem. Give this just a few seconds to finish loading up again. It will restart a couple of times throughout this process. In fact, while it's finishing up, let me go ahead and tell you about drivers. Now, Windows 11 is better than any operating system that preceded it. It actually has a massive driver library, so on most computers you won't have to do any installation of drivers. In fact, this computer I'm installing it on doesn't actually require any drivers at all. And for the ones that do, its ability to automatically update and install drivers is unparalleled. So it will actually just automatically install most drivers if you allow it to, but you can also go into Windows Update and force driver installs and tell it to. So in fact, actually, if you go on optional updates under Windows Update, you can go in and manually tell it to install the drivers from online if it doesn't do it automatically. I will show you a couple of different methods of that. I'll show you kind of how it's supposed to work and what you can do if it doesn't. But first, let's go ahead and get the setup done. So let's go ahead and choose the United States. Yes. If you're in another country, of course, choose that other country. Now, it should at some point ask us to connect to the internet. That's probably going to be the next step. All right, US. We're going to go ahead and do yes. We'll just leave that default. I'm going to skip because I don't have a second keyboard layout I prefer to use. All right, Wi-Fi. We'll need Wi-Fi for setup. Let's go ahead and connect to the local Wi-Fi network here. All right. Next, let's go ahead and connect. Every Windows installation from here on out is going to require this, so I figured it would be good to show everyone this. Give that a second to connect. It's probably going to want to look online and check for updates and stuff like that, so we'll let it do that. Although I should note that this is the latest download and the latest ISO image, and there shouldn't be a whole lot of updates or anything this will need to do. Alright, it wants us to name our device. This is not the email address, this is the computer itself. I'm going to give it a generic name. I'm going to call it, no, let's not call it Dell. There we go, we'll call it HP. Next. It's going to have a couple of privacy questions it wants to ask us. There's some of these I'm not going to do, and some of these I am going to do, because they're not all technically required. Alright, looks like we're back in the setup again. Alright, we're going to set this up for personal use. If you're a school or you're doing it for work, you would use work or school. Pretty self-explanatory. And it wants us to add a Microsoft account, so let's go ahead and do it. I have a Microsoft account standing by, so we're going to use that. Oh, correction, it's got to be, there we go, Tech on Tech Setup at Outlook.com. It's going to have us enter in the password. Let's see, that should be it. All right. Looking good. It wants an alternate email address. Hopefully I can, yeah, just going to go ahead and skip this for now. Probably wants another email address so that if you forget your account or something like that, you forget the password or something, it can send the security question to another one and give you like a password code to log in. So that's a good idea to put in. In fact, actually, it looks like it's required, so. Right, wants to create a PIN. That's perfect. This is much easier way to get into Windows. So we're going to go ahead and click on next, and we're going to go ahead and create a PIN for it. Typical PIN is 4 digits long and can be pretty much anything you want it to be. In this case, I'm going to do one that I'm choosing. You can include letters and symbols, so create it more like a password if you want to, but I think this will work out just fine. We'll just use my regular 4-digit one. Yeah, while I'm waiting, part of these videos is to try and show as much as possible just in case you run into problems, so that you can see how it's absolutely supposed to work. Hopefully these more thorough videos will work better for some people who are having problems. Oh, also I recently switched over to 4K, so that was an interesting thing. Alright, so we have location-based information, find my device, diagnostic data, inking and typing, tailored experience, advertising ID. Most people could leave this on unless you're really adverse to some of this stuff. It looks like the only one that they have that can be disabled is this one. But I'll bet money we can also disable advertising ID. We can probably leave that one. We can probably disable this one. I would just leave them all on. Although, if you're worried about advertisers getting your information, I would probably just go in and disable everything. In fact, let's see if we can do that real quick. Apparently we can. So, there's that. Alright, let's customize your experience. I will skip this part. I will let other people show that and play with that. I think we'll just go with the regular setup. We'll go vanilla. We'll go as vanilla as possible. Alright, use your Android phone from your PC. I don't think I want to integrate or connect my phone to my PC. I did this once and it was a nightmare. Just completely, utterly drained the battery on my phone. It just was a very unpleasant thing to do. It's really neat. It allows you to get pop-ups for text messages and phone calls and stuff like that, but totally not worth it. All right. OneDrive is really neat. I recommend you only save files to this PC for now. I have other videos on setting up and using OneDrive if you want to check those out. But I highly recommend you click that button because most people only start with 5 gigs. Most people will overrun that, and then Microsoft will continuously keep asking you to upgrade it and pay money. So don't do that, and I would decline this one also. That's the other thing that's Outlook and stuff like that. But you can get free versions of all of this, so it's not really required. We're going to go ahead and we're going to skip Game Pass. That's another interesting thing that's like a monthly fee, like Netflix and stuff like that. It's a bunch of games that you can download and install and run. It's like a monthly fee, but we're going to skip that. All right, looks like it's getting through the last part of this process. It's checking for updates, so let's let it go ahead and run that. All right, looks like we should be on the home stretch. It should pop up with a prompt for us to enter in our password when it's done. All right, please keep your PC on and plugged in. Almost there. All right, we have the desktop. Excellent. So let's go ahead and start by seeing what devices we need drivers for. For that, I'm going to go over here to left click on search and then type in device. We'll go ahead and go into device manager. Now this computer already has all of these drivers installed. Windows is really capable of installing all of these just by itself. In fact, this was installed for the video card, which is really, really neat. We can go ahead and close this. But basically, it looks like they're already installed. Looks like everything is ready to go. But some people will have devices that just won't install. So there's a couple of things you can do. If it didn't automatically install all of them, you can actually go to Windows Update. In fact, horrible typing, but that's okay. We'll pull up the Windows Update settings. We're actually going to go to, let's see, I believe it's under Advanced. Nope. That means it is under, okay, so yeah, we'll have to go in, we'll have to check for updates first. And then what we're looking for is we're looking for optional updates. And optional updates is where you will find things like drivers and stuff like that. In fact, in this case, it looks like it did find a driver through Windows Update, and it is now installing it. That's absolutely perfect. On previous cases, I had to click on optional updates. I had to check the boxes and click install. But in this particular case, it looks like it just decided it was going to install it automatically. That's excellent. If it didn't do that, there's a couple of minor things you can do. This is an HP computer. Oh, I'm going to go ahead and confirm and continue. No, thank you. I don't want to sign into anything right now. Confirm and start browsing. Perfect. For Dell drivers, you can find them at support.dell.com. For HP drivers, you can find them at support.hp.com. And for other drivers, it depends on the device, but you can generally find them at the manufacturer website. Like if you've got like a TrendNet Ethernet card or something like that, you can go to the manufacturer website. All right, I skipped over a couple of things. I wanted to go through more driver stuff, but apparently there are no drivers to install on this computer, so I can't really do that. Just know that on some computers, if you run into something where the drivers aren't installed, this is usually for like some video cards and other stuff, you'll want to go to the device manufacturer website for NVIDIA. It's nvidia.com. You'll have to go in and select your device and stuff like that and download it. That's a little more advanced. I'm not going to cover that in this video, but just be aware that it is something you may have to do on some computers. But you should know that Windows 11 will already do this for like 95% of the hardware out there. So unless you find you are not getting sound or something isn't working right, generally speaking, you just don't have to do it, or Windows will update it within a day or two of using it, and it'll take care of it itself. Guys, that is it for the entire video. Let me double check my side stuff here to see if there's anything I need to patch in at the end of this. It doesn't look like there is. Well, if you enjoyed this video, if this helped you out, I would love to have you like and subscribe. As usual, if you have any comments or anything like that, or anything you'd like to add, drop it in the comments section below. I try to answer questions and other stuff if people have them, and I have even been known to make follow-up videos for the people who needed them, so feel free to drop that down there. Otherwise, I think we will cut it there and have a great rest of the day.